you so much, Arun. Cool. Hey, everyone. Good evening. I hope I'm audible and clear to you. So, thanks to Test Drive for helping me to give this talk in KeyConfest. So, already Arun gave me a vast introduction about me. I'll not waste more time about that. So, just a quick intro. I'm Vignesh. So, the topic is mostly on the Gen AI. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the Q&A section, not in the chat, because we will be collating the questions and we will be answering at the last 5 minutes. Given said that, let me share the screen. I guess my screen should be visible. Can you guys confirm? Just tap an yes in the chat. Yep, it's visible. Awesome. Cool. So the topic, as Arun mentioned, it's from confusion to clarity, perfecting your prompts for smarter AI collaboration. Now, just wanted to give an on a high level what we are going to see in this next 28 minutes. So we all know what is Gen AI, we all know what is writing prompts and everything, but we will not be getting a good result. Like for instance, whenever you jump into ChatGPT, Cloud, or Gemini, be it any Gen AI, when you ask it a questions, the result will not be as promising as you think are. Why? Let's say if Vignesh does it, it gives me a greater result, but when I do it, it doesn't. It doesn't mean Vignesh is doing something great with the Gen AI. No, it's about how am I asking questions to the Gen AI. So we are going to see how better to ask questions to the Gen AI to get better results. So already Arun gave me a lot of info about my introduction, but so I'm working as a senior SDET at SumUp. Basically, I'm from Chennai, India, but currently staying in Berlin for 4 years. But apart from my senior SDET role, I'm also an online trainer, a seasoned Udemy trainer for more than 8 years now, and I'm also partnering with Test Drive for last 3-4 years. And so far, I have trained close to 5,000 to 7,000 students, specifically on tools like Playwright, Cypress, web automation, mobile automation, performance testing, and everything. Apart from the online trainings, I'm also a conference speaker. Like how am I speaking in QConfex? I spoke in many conferences such as the TestFlix, QConfex, Automation Star, Eurostar, and so on and so on. So if you're interested and you wanted to know more about me, you can connect it either in LinkedIn, and this is the QR for the LinkedIn and my portfolio. So I'll just pause for like 10 seconds in case if you need to scan and get connected with me. Awesome. So now, first we'll understand what are all the topics which you're going to learn in next half an hour. So first we are going to understand what is prompt engineering. The word can be a bit tricky, but it's very simple. So we'll understand what is prompt engineering. We will understand what is the importance of writing a good prompt. We will see what are all the key components are there to write an effective prompts. We will see what are all the common mistakes which we do on a daily basis when we are writing prompts, and what is my real-time tips and tricks, like what I do on a daily basis. So I'll be sharing some of the real-time tips and tricks on to writing better prompts. And then all the things whichever we seen until point 5, we will try to do a demo with ChatGPT. And then for the last 5 to 7 minutes, we'll be having with the Q&A. Now, before jumping into writing prompts and everything, first, I guess most of you already know what is Gen AI. Gen AI is generative AI, which helps you to generate things. For instance, it helps you to generate images, it helps you to generate codes, it helps you to generate emails, articles, everything. Whatever you ask for, Gen AI will do that. But the most important mistake or the most important thing which we do with Gen AI is we will not be asking the right question, which means whatever the question is in our brain, we will not be better phrasing it. For example, let's say, imagine I'm sitting in a coffee shop or I'm sitting in my home. I wanted to order a cappuccino cup. So in my brain, I wanted to order a cappuccino and I want that cappuccino to be served in a Starbucks cup. Now imagine I'm hitting a server and I'm asking him, bro, can you give me a cappuccino coffee? That's the only statement I'm saying to him. I'm just saying I need a cappuccino coffee. But in my brain, again, I would be thinking when the coffee comes, it will be in a cappuccino, it will be in a tall Starbucks cup, it will be served with a straw, it will be served with a tissue. So this is how I would be imagining. But this can be a possibility. Maybe the person can serve me a cappuccino in a clay pot. Can it or can it not? It can happen. Why? Because I didn't specifically say him or her that I need a cappuccino in a Starbucks cup, in a with a straw, with a tissue. No, I didn't say that. My statement was very, very vague, saying that I need a cappuccino coffee. So I should be also in a position to accept that it can also serve in a clay pot. This is the exact same thing can happen in Gen AI too. When you be very generic, when you be too vague, saying like you need a cappuccino coffee, then the result produced by the Gen AI can be generic, which might not be as tailor made as you wanted or you thinking of. So the same situation, how you can handle it better. The same use case, which is you wanted to order a cappuccino coffee, but when you give instruction like this, very clear instruction, which is you need a cappuccino coffee, you need to be served in a tall Starbucks cup, you need to be served with straws and tissues, then Gen AI will give you something, a response like this. By the way, just FYI, both the images I have shown is created by Gen AI. I didn't do it. I didn't take it up from Google Images or any website. These two images are purely created by ChatGPT. Now, what we understood in these two slides, we can clearly see that how clear you are giving your prompt makes a huge difference in the response from the chat GPT. If it is being a prompt like this, which is need a cappuccino coffee, you may get up in a Starbucks cup, but it's not always 100%. But when you give a clear prompt like this, then 200% always you'll be getting the better result. So this is what it's called as prompts. Now, we understand it with the real scenario. Now we will understand what is prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is the process of designing and refining the text instructions, or we call it as prompts, given to the Gen AI models to produce desired outputs. In the previous slide, you saw the 3 lines which I wrote: need a cappuccino coffee, need it with Starbucks cup. All these are prompts. So what is prompt engineering? Is the process of designing and refining the prompts. So that's called as prompt engineering. The goal of prompt engineering is to guide the AI's response, ensuring that it generates most accurate. That's the most important thing. For instance, imagine we all now know how to access Google, how to access the search bar. We can go and get the data. But why we rely on Gen AI? Because I don't want to take the burden of searching or burden of getting an information from the internet. I want the Gen AI's help to do that. But if you ask the questions very vague or very generic, it will give you a generic answer. So you have to write the prompt to be specific to make sure that the AI gives you utmost accurate response. Now, by crafting clear and specific prompts, we can influence and we can increase the response we are getting from the AI. Think of prompt engineers, like think of prompt engineering something like a conversation, like the conversation between you and the Gen AI. How better you can make the Gen AI to understand your problem statement, the better the Gen AI will give you the response with. So this is what in a high level what prompt engineering is. Now, to write a effective prompt. So we are going to see in details on what prompt should not write and many things, but these 5 parameters you can remember, you can keep it with you to write an effective prompt. First is clarity, second is specificity, third is context, fourth is tone and style. If needed, not always, but sometimes if needed, we need to provide all these 4: clarity, specificity, context, tone and style. Vignesh, what is clarity? As the name implies, whenever you're writing your prompt, it needs to have a clarity in it, which means you need to avoid the vague language. You need to make sure there is no ambiguity. So none of this should be there in your prompting. Next is specificity. You have to clearly specify what you're looking for. For instance, let's say if I'm asking ChatGPT to generate me a login cases. What login case? Is it a login for web, login for mobile app, login for mobile native app? What is that? We are not specifying it. So when ChatGPT is giving a response, maybe your original intention wants to get a list of test cases for your mobile, like let's say Android application, but maybe ChatGPT can give a generic cases which would suit for web application. But is it mistake on the ChatGPT side or the mistake on your side? It's mistake on our side. Why? We didn't specifically mention it. So specificity is super important. Next is context. Most of the beginners who starts to learn Gen AI, even me, couple of years back, we will not give the context. What it means by context? When you say in this case, I want the set of test cases for login screen for, let's say, web or mobile, we also need to add the context saying that my project is based out of Android. We have these many features delivered. This is how the sample Figma screen will look like. So the more you give context to the Gen AI, the better the result will be tailor-made for your question. If you don't give the context, then it will always generate only the generic answer found in the model. And tone and style, again, it's not always needed, but in certain cases it is super needed. For example, let's say I'm going to ask ChatGPT to create an email or to create a bug report for me. Now, if I'm going to send it to my peer QA or my peer SDET, I can just get it from the ChatGPT and I can directly post it. But I cannot do that if I'm sending it to my manager or my VP. I can't do that. Why? I have to make sure the tone is aligned. It should be professional, and I don't want it to be missing the important relevant details. So always it is good to specify the tone. Like after it generated the output, you can ask it to convert that saying, hey, this is the data, I'm going to share it to my manager. Make sure it is in the professional tone. So it will convert the same message or the same email in a proper professional tone. So whenever you're writing prompt, make sure these 4 things are there in your prompt. For example, when you write this prompt called write 3 test cases for a payment gateway, including both successful and failed transaction, and specify expected error message for failed cases. You can see this prompt contains the clarity. It clearly says how many test cases you need. It also specifies what feature you're writing for. You're writing for the payment gateway. It also includes the context that you want the test cases for both failure and past cases, and also it mentions on the all the 3 things for a transaction and everything. So this is how a sample good prompt should look like. Now, here I have shown you how a good prompt should look like, but there are close to 7 to 8 common mistakes which a new beginner or even a trained prompt engineer can do, which are, these are the mistakes and this is how we can avoid it. So we will go through all one by one. First is being too vague. As I mentioned, if you are being too vague to the questions you are asking to the Gen AI, you will be getting a vague answer. What it means by that? Again, the same example. If you are saying write login cases, that's all. You're not specifying it's for web or mobile. You're not specifying what feature you're handling. It's a vague prompt you're giving to the Gen AI. So the response you will get back also will be in vague. So how to avoid it? Provide specific details to make the prompt clear. So make sure your prompt is never a vague one. Second, most common mistakes I see all my students does it, over complexing the prompts. That's the most important thing. They are thinking, or everyone is thinking, that Gen AI is like an Aladdin genie. Like you can ask all the wishes and it will give you everything at one shot. No, that's not how a Gen AI performs. It's basically an LLM model. You have to ask the question by breaking it into multiple pieces. For instance, let's say I'm taking a scenario where I want to analyze the feature document given by my product manager. I wanted to see what are all the features it is missing. I wanted to write the test cases and I have to submit it. Imagine I have 4 things to do. What generally people will do, they will put all these 4 works directly to the chat GPT or any Gen AI in one prompt, and they will ask to give the answers for all 4. When you complex your prompt, or when you're asking more things to be done in the same prompt, ChatGPT or any Gen AI will not perform it better. So try to learn to slice the work. For example, this 4 works I have mentioned, you can slice it into 4 pieces of prompts, which is, first is you can ask it to analyze your product document. Second is you can ask it to do the test case generation. Third, you can create a report out of it. So the task should be cut into multiple small pieces. So simplifying your prompts by focusing on one task at a time is the easy way to get the better results. Next is lack of context. As same usual as I mentioned, make sure that it doesn't have any context lost. Next is ambiguous language. As we saw in the previous slide, make sure it doesn't have any ambiguity. For simple instance, people would say that write a short description of test automation. What it means by short? Do you mean less than 20 characters, more than 100 characters? Everything is short, right? So don't put your Gen AI into an ambiguity situation. Rather, give the specific details. Next is multiple tasks at one time, as we already have seen. ignoring prompt refinement. One of the another common mistake is people will not refine the prompt. For example, they write a prompt, they see that, okay, I wrote some prompt with some issues, I will try to refine it. No, people will not do that. Try to refine your prompts. You can write a prompt, see the result. If the result is not happy, try to edit your prompt and get a much better prompt out of it. And last, most important common mistakes which I did personally for many times during my beginners during Gen AI, I was expecting AI to fill the knowledge gap. No, AI cannot fill the knowledge gap here. You can treat AI like your friend. You are giving your works to the Gen AI to get the result from it, but you have to give all the knowledge transfer to the Gen AI. Imagine tomorrow I'm having a new person joining in my team as a QA. I can't expect him to join and work in the first day itself. Why? Because he or she needs to understand the system, he or she needs to understand our product, how we write automation, everything. So, which means we are sharing the context to them. The same way, you have to share the context, provide all the information to the Gen AI to make sure it works in a better manner. So people will assume, okay, I have ChatGPT with me. It can do all the works which I'm doing. No, it cannot, because it will not understand your product, or it will not understand your system. So please make sure you are transferring all those knowledges to the Gen AI. So these are the common 6 to 8 mistakes which people would do. Now, next, what we are going to see is we will understand my real-time 5 techniques. I have more, but I topic the 5. We will see how we can use these 5 techniques. We will also demo the same to get better results from the Gen AI. So first, we will quickly see how to do all of them in the PPT. Then I will jump into ChatGPT and we will see the demo time of that. First, most effective way technique is usage of hashtags. So in your prompts, whenever you put anything with hash, AI tends to pay more attention to it. So let's say you're writing 10 lines of prompt, you start a line with hash, Gen AI has the capability to take more attention to what you are writing after hash. For example, it will help it make to understand the requirements much better. For example, this is one of a sample prompt where I'm saying generate a test cases for a login screen. This is a very generic prompt. I didn't even mention anything about web or mobile, but it's a generic prompt saying to generate a test cases for login screen. But the moment I put hash and I say that as requirements, Gen AI will focus more attention for the section with hash. In this case, it's requirements. So it will understand that Vignesh is asking to create a test cases for the login screen, provided the requirements are, it needs to cover valid cases, invalid cases. It also needs to include the boundary testing. It needs to ensure the security validations. Now, if in the demo, what we will do, we will put one without the hashtags, one with the hashtags. You will clearly see the difference in the result what the Gen AI produces. Now, the next technique is usage of step by step. Again, second most important technique which I do on a daily basis is whenever I'm dealing any complex reasoning or complex multi-stepping task. For example, let's say I'm trying to build up a framework, for example. So framework building is not just one task, right? It's like combination of 100 tasks. I need to do many things. So whenever I'm in those kinds of multi-step flows, I will be breaking down the task into multiple step by step. So making sure that Gen AI will understand that there are 10 steps to finish to make sure the entire task is done. It will help the Gen AI to prioritize the work, to understand we are going step by step. For example, if I'm asking the Gen AI to say how we can optimize the text execution time in automation, if I'm just putting only that as the statement, it will guide me. Okay, Vignesh, let's say optimize your CI/CD, make sure you have more servers with you. So it will give me multiple suggestions. But when I say let's think by step, or let's break this issue by step, the keyword called step by step will pause the Gen AI to think like a human and solve it step by step. So it will guide me first. Okay, first we'll optimize your automation. Second, we will optimize your CI/CD. So it will slice the answering in the step by step format. So it's a very, very important technique which I do on a daily basis. Third technique which I use is act as. So very, very important. The reason is, for instance, imagine in my team, I'm being an SDET, I have a manual QA with me, I have an automation QA, I have a product manager. Like this, we have multiple stakeholders. For example, I'm explaining an issue or a bug to a developer will be in a different tone to a product manager will be in a different tone. To a VP, it will be in a different tone. Not the tone of how I speak, the way I put the things to him or her. Which means when I explain to a developer, I'll go as deep as technical, because I also know the system technically. The developer also knows the system technically. But for a non-technical product manager, I can't speak with to them in a technical manner. Why? Because they don't understand it. So I have to give the same data in a non-technical manner. That's the same thing this Gen AI will do. AI generates role specific responses. It is useful when I wanted to answer for different stakeholders. For instance, let's say I will add a line called act as a senior SDET. You can replace that with any of the role you wanted to, and then you are asking a task to do it, which is write a bug report for a login failure. So when you write this line, which is write a bug report for a login failure without any act as command, it will write the generic bug report. But when you say act as a senior SDET, it will involve all the technical details. When you say act as a product manager, it will involve the product related details, but not technically. So by just putting one keyword called act as will change the entire response. The core response will be the same, but how it's getting portrayed, how it is being presented will change by using this act as. Next, on technique 4, which is usage of format the output as. Super important technique. Why? Because how the Gen AI is giving me the response, I can take it up, I can format it however I want it. Obviously, that's how most of us do. But we can train the Gen AI to give me the output in certain format I want it. For example, let's say I'm asking it to generate the test cases for login feature. That's the only line I write in my prompt. It can give me in table format. It can give me in a doc format. It can give me in any format what the Gen AI thinks of. But when I say write a test cases for a login feature and format the output as test case ID, title of the test case, preconditions, steps, and expected results. This is how generally we write any test case, right? So when I say this is the format I want, Gen AI will make sure it is exactly writing in a table format with all these as columns. So this is one small example I took for format. Similarly, when you're writing a bug report, for example, you can say you wanted to have the bug ID, bug description, bug reproduce steps, screenshot, like that. You can ask it to format in any format you want. So this format the output has helps you on which format you wanted to get the output from. And the last technique which you are going to see is my personal favorite, which is explain like I'm 5. So it is will explain you literally like you're a 5-year-old. For example, you wanted to explain a complex topic to someone, but in a very, very easy, understandable format. Gen AI will help you to learn or understand in such a fashion. For example, let's say when I'm asking explain API rate limiting, that's all. I'm not going to give anything apart from that. When I say explain API rate limiting, it will explain me technically what is API rate limiting, what is API, what are all the advantages of doing all this. Correct. That's what I wanted. But if I wanted to convey this to my non-technical friend or someone who doesn't know what is API rate limiting, when I say explain API rate limiting like I'm 5. So 5 means 5 years old. So it will treat me I'm a 5-year-old, and it will make me to understand the concept like how I will teach to my 5-year-old kid. So that's one of the very important techniques. So you wanted to understand a complex topic, you can use this technique which is called explain like I'm 5. So we have so far seen multiple techniques. We'll quickly jump into the chat GPT and we will see all these examples how it real time helps for. So first we are going to use for the hashtags. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to the chat GPT. So I'm having two chats here. One is to showcase how a bad unstructured prompts result will look like, and how a proper structured prompts result will look like. So first we will see all the unstructured prompts so that we can finish everything in one shot. So first what I'm going to do, I'm going to showcase the example of the usage of hashtags. So I'm removing this. I'm just saying generate the test cases for login screen for my web application. I'm just, it can put mobile or anything. I'm just putting my web application. I'll just say generate, instead of I'll say 5 test cases. I limit it so that the results are shorter. So when I say 5 test cases for login screen, you can see it starts with the test cases, which is test case valid login, invalid login, or invalid login with incorrect password. So it's taking up multiple conditions over there, which is perfect because already the GenAI in my system, at least it's trained, it understand what are all the different combination Vignesh is asked usually. But now, for example, I'm going to the other chat. Here, I'm pasting the same command, generate 5 test cases for login screen for my web application. But this time I'm adding the requirements by using hash. So here I'm giving it clearly that in those 5 cases, or let's say 5 to 10, for example, in those 5 to 10 cases, it needs to cover the valid scenario, invalid scenarios, boundary testing. So it needs to do multiple things. So now if I give the response, if I compare you with both the responses will be much more better when you use the hash. But the moment I say this to my students or in a conference, people will take this as like a mantra, and for every prompt they write, they will use hash. No, don't do that. Don't overuse this hash. Use it only. Imagine this is like a bolding in our letter or whichever we do. So we can't directly bold our prompts, right? So imagine this is like a bolding or underlining. So we will not do it for all the lines in our letter, right? We will do only for the important cases. Similarly, treat this hash only for the important things you wanted to highlight to your prompting. So here you can see now the response is much more better. Like if I go back over here, this is the response it gave when I'm not putting any hash or something, versus when I put hash over here, you can see it also includes the test cases related to boundary test. It also includes the scenario related to SQL injection. SQL injection is one of the common security related testing, and it's also checking the cross-site. So these kinds of cases came because of the hash I have given here as the requirement. So what we learned here, when you use hash in your prompting, it makes sure it gives attention to that particular section what you are writing over there. So this is the usage of hash. Now the next what we have learned is step by step. So what I'm going to write, I'm going to say, how can we improve test execution time in an automation suite? I'm going to remove this, and now I'm going to get a response from it. So to improve the test execution, you can see it will give me all the results in one shot, saying I have to improve the parallel test execution, I have to improvise my test data, I have to improvise my priority test, headless browsers, optimizing locators, blah, 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 blah. It is giving me so many responses. But as a human, maybe GenAI is super powerful, but Vignesh is not that powerful. So I want step-by-step action items like Vignesh, first improvise your locators, then improvise your CI/CD. So I want step-by-step mechanism. So how can I achieve it? To achieve that, I just need to include just one word, which is called, let's break it down step by step. So let me paste that. So how can we improve the test execution time in an automation suite? Just add one line, which is let's break it down step by step. So when I say this, the same answer from the chat GPT, but it will be in a split format. So now you can see it clearly says me, first you have to prioritize your test case. What are all the actions you have to do? You have to categorize your test. You have to run the smoke test first, run critical test. Like that, it will give you in a step-by-step manner. So by this, you can clearly understand what are all the steps you have to do, like 1, 2, 3, to achieve the test automation time execution. So this is the advantage of using the step-by-step keyword. Next, we are going to see act as the role name. For example, if I'm putting this and if I'm just saying write a bug report for a login failure in a banking app, a very generic prompt, when I say this, it will write the generic way of a bug report for a login failure in a banking app. So it is writing a bug report that it is with the valid credentials, one with invalid credentials. Like that, it will write multiple results with it. But when I say the same prompt with a keyword called act as a senior SDET, it's not needed to be SDET also. I can even say act as a senior QA. It can be any role. Now the same result will be tuned from a mouth of a senior QA. So here you can see it has better bug titles. It has project reported by, like how a real-time QA would do it. Priority, severity, environment. For example, in the previous example, you can see it is not having much details. It has very less details on environment and other parts. But here you can see it has more details in terms of environment, in terms of expected results, actual results. All this was achieved because of the usage of this one line, which is called act as a senior QA. Now the same example, if I'm putting it as act as product manager, the same response will be tailor-made or tuned for a product manager. So this act as a keyword will help your Gen AI to produce the answer like how a product manager would think or how a QA would think. So the answer will be tailor-made according to it. So that's the advantage of using act as. And the next one which you're going to see is format the output as. So for instance, if I'm giving without format the output as usual, so write a test case for a login feature. So if I'm giving just a vague prompt like this, it will structure me the test cases with all the steps, but let it finish so we can go to the next one. So you can see it gives me all the details, but it's not in a proper order. Why? Because I didn't say what order I needed. The moment you say what order you need by using format the output as test case ID, title, precondition, steps, expected results, and so on and so on. So the moment you gave it, the result will be properly structured to how you want it. Here I have not said as table, but in case if you want, you can add one more line saying it as you need it in the table format. For example, I'm going to tweak this method and I'm going to say produce me the output in a tabular format. The moment I say this, the same thing, but it will be in a tabular format, which test case ID, test case name, title, precondition, everything. So let us wait until it gives the result.
Vignesh, just a heads up, we just have 2 more minutes, okay?
2 more minutes, done. 2 more minutes, it's done. Last topic.
Okay.
So here you can see I was asking for a single test case, so it was giving me just one case. But the point here is you can see it gave me in the response in the column of test case ID, title, precondition, and everything. So this set output, it's tailor made it for you how you wanted your output to be. You can ask it to. The last thing which you're gonna see is act like I'm a 5. So when I say this question of explain rate limiting, that's all. I'm not gonna give anything, so it will explain me the rate limiting in a technical manner. For example, API rate limiting means using the APIs to control amount of incoming requests, blah, 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 all technical details. But the same prompt, when I'm asking it to give, explain the rate limiting like I am 5, which means I'm asking it to explain me treating I'm like a 5-year-old. When I say this, so it is saying me literally with a toy vending machine. It is thinking, imagine you have a toy vending machine and it can only give you one toy every minute. Now, if you and your friends keep on trying to get the toys too quickly, the machine will be overwhelmed. See how the response is. So obviously, when you learn something so easily, you can easily relate with you, right? So whenever for any complex topics, you can use this keyword called like I am 5, so it will explain the same concept in a much more easy language. So with that you can easily understand the topic you're learning for. So Vignesh, only are these are the tricks which are there in Gen AI? No, there are more. I just top pick, like I use 20 to 30 tricks like this, but I top pick the most important 5, but there are more available tips and tricks in the Gen AI. So what are all the key takeaways we learned from here? You need to be more specific and clear the prompt which you are writing. You have to provide the context and the relevant information so the AI can give a tailor-made response, and you can test your prompts. Like you have to refine your prompts in case if your prompt is not clear, and mastering these basic skills. That's the most important thing. All these are the basics for the Gen AI learning. Mastering these basic skills will help you not to fall into a common pitfalls, and also will give you great results. And these techniques will improvise your prompt writing skills and also will able you to communicate better with the Gen AI. So I guess definitely there will be more questions. So quickly, let me jump to the Q&A section. Okay, I'm just going from top to bottom. First is from Balaramia. How to tell the chat GPT to read the
Can
flow?
you, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Arun, go on.
I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry to all the entities, and I'm really sorry, Vignesh. We are running out of time. We have to, like, just one rule, we have to be on time, okay?
I can
Um,
understand.
I can see a lot of people just saying that we can extend. I'll surely promise, I'm promising you, we'll do this session, the extended version of this session once again with Vignesh, okay?
Perfect.
Yeah.
No worries.
So,
Sorry, I took extra time. I didn't notice the time, but In case
Yeah.
if you have more questions, you wanted to reach out to me, you have my LinkedIn. Please ping me. I will be happy to connect and answer in case if there are any questions.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Vignesh. See you soon.
Thank you, man. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Folks, requesting you to please jump out of the next session. I'll be there with the introduction. And yeah, next session will be recorded. Just a heads up. Please post please post the questions in the Q&A. I'll pick it from there. Awesome.